Everyone's talking about Chatbot GPT, which was released recently, and while it doesn't exactly have a mind of its own, it's pretty much shown us that AI is ready to start reshaping the world in its image. For those who don't know what Chatbot GPT is, think of it as somewhere between Alexa and the virtual assistant from the movie Her. You can ask it to do things like rewriting the last 3 seasons of Game of Thrones in the style of Quentin Tarantino. It can write a paper on the similarities between different deities from different religions, or write code from an app or a website. Its companion Dall-e can generate images based on word prompts, and the results are equally impressive. If we just look at the technological advancements that we're on the precipice of, it's pretty exciting, but if we think about all the social implications, it really shakes at the foundation of how we organize our world. I'm an ultra positive and optimistic person, but I like to base my optimism in reality, and that requires me to face my fears and all the potential unwanted outcomes in order to focus entirely on pragmatic things I can do. Then I put my energy towards better outcomes. I want to focus on the positive in this situation too, but first I have to come to terms with the potential negative outcomes of this earth shattering technology. The biggest question I have is what happens if society doesn't need any of us humans in order to function? Sure, the jobs won't all disappear overnight, but even at this very moment, there are surely companies that are thinking about how this technology can reduce their labor costs. By the end of the year, we may start to see jobs in design, translation, programming, writing, and copywriting all cut by a significant amount. And a lot of these jobs will be entry positions. At the same time, automation is making cashiers, waiters, and factory workers less in demand. Within 2 to 3 years, it may do the same for drivers, chefs, and a variety of other jobs. Jobs disappearing isn't the only thing to worry about. Misinformation is going to be taken to a whole new level, with deepfakes becoming more and more advanced, and without the ability for us to tell what was created by humans and what was created by machines. We won't know if our textbooks or favorite films or hotel reviews or the news is real or generated by AI. It'll become almost impossible to know what's real. Add to that the ease with which information can be conjured up, and it's easy to imagine people becoming lazy and discouraged from working hard when AI can do everything better than us anyway. Why learn to play piano when we can push a button to generate the music of our dreams and then edit it and rearrange it just as easily? It's completely understandable if people are a bit freaked out about the future. I feel these worries tugging at the back of my mind too. For the last few years, I've been doing an experiment though. This wasn't originally about AI at all. It was just a test I did on myself, a kind of audit to make sure that I actually wanted to succeed at my goals and that I wasn't just afraid of change. I asked myself, what if everything was perfect as it was and didn't need me to change it? This may sound like it has nothing to do with AI, but just bear with me for a minute. Since I was young, I always dreamed about helping the world in some way. I felt that we were heading towards disaster and I needed to do something about it, that we all needed to do something to save it. The very thought led me to push my conclusion onto others and preach what I believed in. The preaching led me to draw lines between myself and others based on ideology because I had identified what I believed were solutions to the world's problems, and so the people working against these were obviously part of the problem. At the end of this path was either a nihilistic hopelessness or a fanatic near-fascist view that others had to see the world the way that I did. Otherwise it was destined to end, or at the very least bad things would happen. Ironic that I considered myself anti-fascist because I believed those with different ideologies were evil and even less than human. Through my own failures, I learned to swallow my pride and accept that perhaps I didn't know everything. I started to see how I derived a sense of identity from the struggle. I hid this from myself, but I actually reveled in the idea that the world was collapsing because trying to fix it gave my life purpose. Without that purpose, I felt empty. When I took that away, I ended up having to face a deep sense of emptiness and longing. I saw that I wanted meaning and purpose in my life, but slowly I became aware that none of this meaning and purpose needed to be absolute. It could be light or optional even. If the world didn't need me to save it, then maybe I should focus more on having fun and spreading good vibes, whether or not people really needed them. Might as well, especially if I could enjoy it. And in the end, it would probably have a good effect on the world anyway. Whether or not the world actually needs saving and what to do about it is a huge issue for another day, but this exercise helped me to get to the core of my fears and my desires, and also to understand the struggles of what most people are going through in this transitionary period. If life didn't need me, then I could let go of the urgency and focus less on motivation and more on inspiration. I could open myself up to all kinds of possibilities that were off limits to me before. I didn't forfeit my values. I merely took a lighter stance and realized that I didn't have all the answers. I surrendered to life just enough to let it teach me, and I found that life is the greatest of all teachers. The lessons aren't always straightforward, but they're exactly what we need at the moment to help us grow. So, with regards to AI, I'm treating it the same way, just as a teacher, something to challenge me to adapt and look at the world in a new way. There are a ton of dangers, and it'll probably be misused, but I don't see the point in worrying about any of that unless there's a situation where I can make a positive change. And I don't want to make endless speculation when some things we really need to see play out a bit first. It's easy for me to imagine all the horrible ways that AI and automation can and likely will be used, even easier than it is for me to imagine how it could lead to abundance. There are always people who seek to take advantage of powerful technology without regards to how it impacts the world, or those who seek to use it to control others. But when I forfeit my fears and look at things neutrally, all I can say about AI is that it's here, it's probably not going away, and it's going to change things. There isn't really anything to gain from being fanatic or nihilistic about it. We're all just here for the ride and can only do our best with what we have. We still have agency, and the direction this technology takes will reflect the energy we put into it. If we let our fears dominate us, it'll surely be used as a tool of destruction. If we let delusions cover our fear, we invite coercion. But if we face our fears first and then let our curiosity and excitement guide us, we may find ourselves stepping into a new age of abundance. New systems and agreements may emerge that allow us to prioritize our relationships and creativity over monotonous work that we dislike. Things that took years of hard work and toil can be generated with the push of a button, so that means our ability to solve problems may increase exponentially. We don't need to treat what AI says as gospel either, but together with AI, we could come up with new ways to create clean energy or come to new solutions for long held disputes that satisfy both sides of a conflict. What if it's able to identify and expose corruption and suggest ways to promote accountability? What if it helps us cure disease while also helping us avoid complications around overpopulation and aging societies? What if humans, with the help of AI, come up with ways to negate all the issues that AI may potentially create? I know it sounds a bit overly idealistic, but nothing I'm saying here is impossible. And just as things usually don't play out in the best possible scenario, they also don't usually play out in the worst possible scenario either. So we're most likely to land somewhere in the middle. The reality we find ourselves in will likely be somewhere in between our greatest dreams and our worst nightmares, and how far they lean in one direction or the other depends entirely on us. That doesn't mean we have to change it by force, it just means we have to think about what energy we put out there. None of us know exactly where this will lead, and if we can't admit that, we won't be able to make the most of it, and we'll likely shoot ourselves in the foot. I'm fully equipped with the awareness of all the terrible changes that could come about from AI, but at the same time, I now have a new and incredible tool to work with in my pursuit of freedom, fun, and meaningful connections with people. Rather than focus on the negative potential, I'll keep seeking to create something positive regardless of what the future holds.